Kate Michelle was a 14-year-old girl from Exeter, Devon. She lived with her parents Suzanne and Jerry and had an older brother Tim. Known for being bright, studious, and popular, Kate was the kind of student who excelled in academics and sports. She was also a talented musician, playing the saxophone, clarinet, and piano. Kate dreamed of attending Oxford University. On top of all this, she was heavily involved with her church, a true all-rounder with big aspirations for her future. On November 15, 1997, Kate set off to walk her neighbor's dog Gemma along a rural lane near her home. It was a typical afternoon for Kate, a 14-year-old who loved animals. But tragically, this routine walk would be her last. Around 40:45 p.m., Kate was seen walking with the dog, but shortly after, she vanished. By 5:30 p.m., her parents became worried when she didn't return. Her body was later found, brutally murdered just 300 yards from home. The killer had slashed her throat with a knife, leaving her life tragically cut short. Investigation: the murder of Kate Michelle sent shockwaves through the Exeter community. The police quickly launched Operation Deacon. Involving over 160 officers and extensive resources, they conducted over 5,000 house-to-house interviews, took DNA samples, and gathered fingerprints, all in an effort to find any lead that could point to the killer. Despite their best efforts, they found little to go on. Forensic experts noted the horrific nature of Kate's death. Her throat had been slashed with a knife at least 6 inches long, a wound that had been inflicted with extreme force. One theory proposed that the killer may have had prior experience with slaughtering animals, as the method used to cut Kate's throat was similar to techniques used on livestock. Investigators also considered the possibility that the killer might have military training or experience, given the precision of the attack. In addition to the physical evidence, several witnesses came forward with potential clues. A woman and her daughter had seen Kate walking towards the area earlier in the day, and they also noticed a man standing near a blue van. However, the man in question was never identified. Another witness reported seeing a man running from the scene of the crime, covered in blood and looking disoriented. The man was said to have been acting erratically, which raised further suspicions. Despite the extensive investigation, no significant breakthroughs emerged, and the case remained unsolved. Kate's family and the public were left in the dark, desperately hoping for any piece of information that could lead to justice for Kate. The investigation into Kate's murder led to the identification of several potential suspects, but none were ever brought to justice. Among the most notable leads were the descriptions of 2 men seen near the scene around the time of Kate's disappearance. The first suspect was the man observed by the mother and daughter near the blue van. He was described as a white male, aged 30 to 40, with dark hair, average build, and wearing jeans. Despite this detailed description, the man was never identified, and the blue van he was associated with remained a mystery. Another lead came from a witness who saw a man running from the direction of the crime scene. This man appeared to be out of control, running at high speed and possibly covered in blood. Witnesses noted that the man was not wearing typical running gear, which made his behavior seem even more suspicious. He ran into the nearby housing estate, which suggested he may have been familiar with the area or had a safe place to go. Despite the witness's description, this man was also never identified. In addition to these leads, police speculated that the killer could have had local knowledge of the area, as Kate had been killed in a secluded spot along a path that was frequently used by dog walkers. They believed that the killer may have been someone who knew the area well, either as a local resident or someone with ties to the community. The investigation into the suspects went on for years, with no solid leads coming to light. The police interviewed several individuals, but all potential suspects were eventually released without charge. The lack of closure left Kate's family in a state of limbo, hoping for a break in the case that would finally bring her killer to justice. Unsolved mystery: despite years of investigation and extensive resources poured into the case, Kate's murder remains unsolved to this day. The police have explored multiple theories, including the possibility that her killing was part of a larger pattern of attacks on women in the area. Investigators have pointed to similarities between Kate's murder and 2 other unsolved murders that occurred in nearby locations. In 1987, 66-year-old Helen Fleet was brutally stabbed and strangled while walking her dog near Warbury Woods, just an hour away from Exeter. A witness reported seeing a youth running from the area shortly after the attack, similar to a witness account from Kate's case. In 1998, Less than a year after Kate's murder, 41-year-old Lynn Bryan was also killed while walking her dog in Truro, about 2 hours from Exeter. Like Kate, Lynn was stabbed multiple times, and her body showed signs of struggle. However, no suspect was ever caught in any of these cases. Forensic evidence in Lynn Bryan's case led to a DNA profile of the attacker, but the killer's identity remains unknown. Police have suggested that the same individual may be responsible for all 3 murders, suggesting a pattern of targeting women walking dogs in remote areas. These killings exhibit striking similarities in the method of attack, the victim's vulnerability, and the lack of sexual assault, raising the possibility that a serial killer could be operating in the region. Despite these connections and the efforts of the police, the case remains open, with no clear answers. The lack of closure is particularly agonizing for Kate's family, who are still waiting for justice. The possibility that the killer remains at large and could strike again only deepens the mystery, leaving the community on edge and desperate for any information that could solve the case. Possible links: investigators continue to explore the possibility that Kate's murder is linked to other unsolved cases, which could point to a serial killer operating in the region. The similarities between Kate's case and the murders of Helen Fleet and Lynn Bryan are striking. All 3 women were killed while walking dogs in rural areas, with no signs of robbery or sexual assault, and their bodies were left exposed. These factors suggest a possible connection, though it remains speculative. One of the most important pieces of evidence in Kate's case was the discovery of orange fibers on her body. These fibers were traced to a polyester and cotton mix that had been treated with a bright orange dye, commonly found in workwear such as boiler suits or gloves. This clue has led investigators to theorize that the killer may have been wearing some form of work clothing, possibly linked to a job that required the use of such garments. The fact that the killer left the dog unharmed in all 3 cases is another chilling aspect. This could indicate a psychological element, where the killer may have seen the animals as less significant than the human victims, or perhaps even wanted to leave a living witness behind as part of the power dynamics of the crime. This choice not to harm the dogs adds a complex layer to the killer's behavior and motivations. Despite the significant forensic evidence and the similarities between the murders, the police have yet to make any arrests. The ongoing investigation continues to examine all possible links, with the hope that one day, new evidence or a witness may provide the crucial breakthrough needed to identify the killer. Until then, the case remains open, and the search for justice for Kate and the other victims goes on. Despite years of investigation, Kate Michelle's murder remains unsolved, leaving a haunting legacy. With minimal evidence and several strange leads, the case continues to perplex police and the community. Kate's family still hopes for justice, but they need your help. Could you be the one to remember a crucial detail? If you know anything, even the smallest piece of information, come forward. Don't let this case be forgotten. Subscribe for more updates and share this video to keep the search alive. Don't miss our next video, The Unsolved Mystery of Helen Fleet's Murder, coming soon!